Okay, so everyone, I need a big thank you and a round of applause for my Carole Baskins right here. Y'all ought to know her. This is Carrie. She's part of this network here locally that we've built to help each other out and submit documents, find patterns of corruption here in the town. So this is a Spartan. This is Carrie. And if y'all saw the live cast we did with her outside the courtroom before, where they erroneously held her in contempt of court to get a court fee out of her. Carrie actually she joined the group for a very big reason, and she's fought all along the way. She's a tiger mom, so it's very appropriate for having her here as Carole Baskins, Shooting Tiger King Part 2. She's had to fight everything she's had along the way, and there's been a lot of state conspiracy and just complete turning a blind eye to the things that have happened to her. They're absolutely atrocious. And if y'all don't mind giving her your full attention, she'd really like to get her story out to other moms, maybe inspire them to take control of their own situations, because that's what she's had to do with hers, and she's done a great job of it. She's filing her own motions, she's defended pro se, and has collected all the documentation, wink wink. All this is for naught if you don't have the documents to prove it in court. And then if y'all were watching in that courtroom, you saw how the judge and the prosecutor wouldn't even touch on all the illegal exhibits that I submitted on the court record. They just completely ignore them. So laws are for thee and not for me. But again, keep documentation, because when the time comes, you'll be able to use that, and within your group, you'll be able to share that information. So without any more distractions, Carrie, thank you so much for helping us and being here and part of this thing, and showing everyone, how strong young mom can be, having the laws weaponized against her.
Yeah, you can't give up.
So, do you want to share part of your story and how this whole thing started, where you became involved in this against Adams County?
Well, I got involved with a particular individual that had some pretty tight ties in with the courthouse and with their cronies, and it's just been unraveling since then. I went to, I don't know, it's been years. I was dealing with an abusive situation. I had multiple PFA violations and whatnot. They kept getting swept under the rug. I had to go to the extent of actually removing myself from Adams County to stay away. Time after time I've contacted victim witness. They didn't help me. The police wouldn't file charges even though there was a zero contact order. They were classifying me with typical people that they want to, I don't know the word, that they work with or supposed to be working for, and they just kept throwing it under the rug. I went to victim witness again, and I was told that because the police weren't doing anything that I needed to move. So, even dealing with the abuse physically, emotionally, my kids were involved. I had to walk on eggshells and relocate. I almost feel like, the PFA was against me.
PFA is Pennsylvania's Commonwealth's term for a restraining order, if anybody's wondering.
Yeah, so I had to move. I continuously dealt with it, even outside of Adams County. I had to report it again recently. There's been multiple times that I just didn't even worry about reporting it because nothing gets done, and then when I try to report it, they said, it should have been done immediately and this and that, but, definition of harassment is having it happen multiple times, so here I am trying to report it, and then they don't do nothing about it. So.
Okay, you've been very gracious in not giving too many details, so as not to murky things up, but I don't know if you're comfortable sharing specific details of what's happened to you, because I don't think the audience has a gravity of the things that have happened to you. You're being very gentle with your verbiage on what's happened to you, because it's absolutely jaw-dropping.
I've had to deal with him dragging me down the road while I was hanging outside of the car.
Kidnapping.
He picked me up from my mother's house.
And held you against your will.
And yes,
That's
I
kidnapping.
went to go jump out of the vehicle, and he grabbed me while I was pregnant and was dragging me down the road. There's been multiple times that he's tried running me off the road or literally running me over. He's went to the extent of kicking my door in, coming through my house, ransacking my whole house, and I've learned to not say too much to him to get him sparked up, so I don't have to deal with the backlash. But yeah, it's been pretty rough. I mean, he's making my environment and my relations with everyone very, very hard. His false reports that he's made a number of times. I brought documentation and everything to the police and investigators, and it just gets thrown under the rug and forgot about.
What about the time you had 2% battery on your phone? Would you like to share the situation you were in with that?
Yes, that's when he picked me up, and I was, I don't know if I should give the road, but I was heading up Table Rock Road there in Gettysburg. We got to the intersection, and he was grabbing my hair and smacking my face up against the dashboard. And that's whenever I tried jumping out the car whenever we were coming to a stop sign. Unfortunately, I had my son's ashes in my purse, and I didn't want to throw my purse down and bust the container that my son was in. After I got loose from him, he went down the road. He came up the opposite direction then and tried running me over. I had to jump into a bush and go to the neighbor's house. My phone was dead, but luckily I was able to turn my phone on just enough to make a quick phone call to my girlfriend, and her and a former boss of mine had came and picked me up. So I mean, it's the extent of his craziness is beyond a normal PFA. I mean, he's threatened to kill me a number of times. He's choked me. He's thrown stuff at me. He's kicked doors down and hit my son in the mouth and busted his lip open. Like, it's been a nightmare.
Okay, so these are things all that have happened in the past, more than just recently.
Right,
And you've reported them and nothing's come of it.
right.
Okay, so that was her story when we first met. There's a lot more to it. It's an awful domestic situation. So thank you for having the intestinal fortitude to share with us. Because I'm telling you, what you just said is the details of the very washed and polite version that you originally started.
Yeah.
But since Carrie's become a vocal member of Lincoln Square Leonidas, of the Adams County corruption, remember when the courts, we live casted outside the courthouse when they were erroneously finding her in contempt of court. Since then, there's been some retaliative things that's developed from that. There's been new instances pretty much directly attributable to her standing up and doing that. Were you comfortable sharing some of what the new stuff is just since we last live cast?
Yeah, last month I went to take my son some medication into the school. He made a whole scene there. He was saying false things about me. He is constantly being spiteful no matter how I try to approach things legally or, around him so that he doesn't get flared up. And my son has been going through some health issues. He's extremely constipated. I've reported this a number of times to Children and Youth Services. My ex has been in jail for a long time. He knows the laws, he knows how to manipulate, he knows how to distort stuff. He is a good talker, to say the least.
And has a man on the inside. Has
Yeah.
somebody on the inside.
Yes, yeah, he definitely does. And my nerves.
No, you're doing great.
Sorry.
You are great
Fighting through this.
doing it. I know. You're brave. People need to hear this. This is what you've lived through. This is just what they're listening to.
Yeah, and he made a scene. He was belittling me in front of my son, in front of my son's classmates, in front of the teacher. He's made strained relationships all over the place. I actually had to go to court to get a court order to take him to the doctor. And since then, he's just hasn't been allowing me to make sure his procedures get done properly. He's not taking him to his doctor's appointments. And this has been going on, the medical end of things have been going on, the constipation issue, I should say, since September. And it's just progressed to the extent that, you know, it's hurting my son's insides. And I've been fighting through this and trying to take all the legal steps possible to get my son the help and everything that he needs. And once again, you know, he's not getting any help. I had an issue at the hospital in Gettysburg because of his medical neglect issue. I went to the hospital to make sure he had his procedure and stuff done. He was yelling and cussing there in front of the staff, in front of the other patients, and again in front of my son, telling me that I was a piece of shit, I'm not allowed to see my son or be around him, that on the days that he has custody, I did report that to a different police station, so guess we'll see what comes out of that. But
Okay, so apart from just the drama that's happened with your son, there's new possible charges in the violation of that protection from abuse order?
yes.
Please, are you comfortable elaborating on that? On where the violations were and what's happened with that? If you're comfortable.
I don't know if I should really say anything too
Oh.
much because it's still going on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're waiting word back on that, right? Yeah,
It's
there-
still waiting
so
word.
you logged an incident, and you logged that with police?
Yes,
Okay, and you're waiting on word back from that?
yes.
Okay, well, I guess we won't go into any more. Carrie has shared a lot. Thank you for sharing your soul with us.
Yeah.
Keep going. What else do you want to touch on?
One of my biggest issues is there is a personal relationship between his attorney and the judge. They used to work together, they practiced together, they've been involved with each other for a number of years, and no matter what I have to say or do, I'm constantly getting undermined. And the judge, although I have 5 children, I have full custody of 4 of my children, for some unknown reason, which obviously we know what's going on, she's always ruling in his favor. So, I mean, I did file some paperwork and stuff trying to get that squared away. But the judicial code and ethics, I mean, there's constant violations with that stuff. The laws and stuff are not being enforced unless they want to turn stuff around on you.
Yeah.
The continuous harassment, it's just been crippling to say the least. Try to not put too much out
Yeah.
there, but
No,
I mean,
you did great.
documentation, I have no issue with any of that. Videos, pictures, paperwork from the courts. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and
extensive.
again, hitting on what Carrie just said, she's kept documentation of it all through everything, so that finally when, you know, community action happens, people get together, you start sharing information, and I have no children or interactions with children and youth services or any of that stuff that goes on over there. But from what I know from the things you would think are unrelated, I got turned away by the victim's advocate the same way, and then she illegally granted stuff to my assailant. And then seemingly unrelated, the same prosecutor, Miranda Blazek, who I'm suing for racketeering right now, She went so far as to throw me in jail twice for the governor's distant niece breaking in my house and planting drugs on video. Went so far as to ignore everything that Carrie had going on, documented, submitted, and told her to move across county. So
even children and youth, I mean, there's been multiple times that I've reported issues like this, and it's all, you know, there's doctor's records. I don't sit and, you know, make up a diagnosis. Obviously, that's on the doctor, and they continue to ignore that, and it's went to the extent of they were knowledgeable of what was going on. I provided the information that they needed. Anything even current, I've offered to give them everything, but you know, it's been almost 2 weeks now, and they still don't have the documentation from the doctors in hand. I don't know what the heck they're waiting on. I mean, it's...
if they wanted it.
Yeah, exactly.
If
I
they
can
wanted
call, I literally called and had them print the stuff out for me and had it in my hand within 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and these are the people supposed to be protecting children.
Yeah.
But just to add into that, so everyone, we've all been collecting documentation, everyone that stood up for ourselves and collected this, and now that we're networking, man, half of the people in this network are tied up there at the Children and Youth Center, the CYS. It's the amount of stuff that goes on over there, and it's indiscriminate towards males or females, although the amazing thing is that they're mostly moms that are in our group. They're doing it. You would think that in today's day and age, where the law often sides with the mom and decides to, if they're going to err in favor of the mother, it's completely weaponized against these moms. And this includes people in my family. This is how I became aware of this. And we're actually collecting a lot of documents on that still. If you're local and you've been wrapped up in that, go ahead and hit us up in the email, and we're compiling information on this, because this is you don't mess with cats, dogs, and kids, man, and old people. like that's just like even psychopaths can agree on that.
This particular judge actually has ties in with Children and Youth Services.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Very convenient.
So again, Carrie has grabbed up her Tiger Mom sack and done stuff about it. You want to tell him that she, on her own, completely on her own, figured out the Judicial Review Board system.
Yeah, I studied that. I went through all my documentation and seen what violations had occurred. I documented all of that, and I sent a letter into the Judicial Review Board. So I did get one letter back. I'm still waiting for another one, so hopefully something comes out of it. It's very unfortunate that we have to sit in this position as mothers or fathers and go to this extent to get our children help and make sure our kids are taken care of. It sucks.
No, but Carrie's not a victim. She's a freaking winner. She's a Tiger Mom. So I'm sorry that we had to just go through this.
You know,
but this is something that needs to be heard.
People need to come forward. We need to work together and make sure this situation ends, because it's not right in any way, shape, or form.
Thanks. Yeah, that's powerful. No. Thanks, hon. This is my Carole Baskins right here. This is my road dog. We're not burying her next to the septic tank. I'm so pissed I didn't get that line off. I was in 6 different places during that trial.
We need to do that out of Adams County.
Yeah.
Behind a septic tank.
Yeah, we'll have it crowdsourced. But anyhow, hey, thanks y'all. Everyone that caught the hearing live, I don't even know what's going on. The judge the day before had me listed down for the wrong time. And again, we weren't allowed to address that in court. If you notice that there were a lot of things, I'll follow through on videos later of what illegal documents that I submitted to the record, official documents that display illegal behavior. And the courts just completely ignored it. It's just ignored it. It's on the court record, and we're not talking about that. So all of y'all that think that once you get it to court, or once you have a lawyer, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work, but it doesn't. The system's corrupted, and there's and when the law's weaponized against you, you have no recourse. And we're not talking about people that are in dire situations and have to do dire things. We're talking about normal people, like everybody, I'm telling you, 99% of the people that were in jail with me were decent folk. Like, I don't know, about half of them were screw-ups, yeah? But like decent folk, man, like not career criminals, not anything. Just people get tripped up in the system, and none of us can believe it happens until it's done happen to us.
Yeah.
You would never believe the depravity of what you just heard Carrie told, who's a good mom, a good person, yeah, you know, capable of taking care of children and herself, and the way the law's been weaponized against her, clearly and blatantly. So, anyhow, thanks, hon, I appreciate it. You got shies up. I only ever have one Carole Baskins, and that's this gal right here. She's a rock. So, anyhow, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Well, thanks, Carrie. I appreciate you sharing your story. Yeah, people, please share Carrie's story. Carrie's starting, once she gets some time, hopefully get started up in social media and doing her thing. So she is a friend of the channel, and hopefully she'll have her aspect as a mom that's gone through this. So other people can see that this happens. This happens in plain view, plain sight, plain everything, and
They're so used to it. They just feel like they're untouchable.
It's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, we definitely need to stick together and keep pushing. I mean, that's the only way we're gonna get through it.
That's it. And not give up.
Not give up.
Because how many people go to the wayside?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've alluded to it on the channel before, but one of our crew was involved in one of the things that I got arrested for was, you know, the daughter of the county bar, them doctoring the record for her. He's been eating beans out of a can for like 4.5 years, getting by, trying to hold on to this, and it finally happened. He finally had a judge recuse himself. Like, that's what we're talking about with Judge John Kunobi. That's never happened. So there's still fallout on that, and I can't even get into more on that. But that's by staying on it, and what Carrie's doing is staying on it, and you know, network, keep your information, and stay on it. Nothing will happen, you know, unless you do. So, you good?
Yep, I'm good.
This is my road dog right here. Hey y'all, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate you paying attention to Carrie's story. This is just one of the gals in our group that has very similar stories. You know, this well-oiled machine doesn't happen without having well-oiled gears, well-cut gears. So thanks. Share this story with your friends that care in this manner, or you know, any social media people that are involved and care about this stuff, because we're so suppressed here in town and locally and even on social media once you get traction. So thank you all very much for following the case. I hope y'all enjoy. Y'all caught the live stream, enjoyed it. Carrie made it. This is my Carole Baskins stealing the tiger up here. She got shot at a couple times. So you guys got to catch these Zoom hearings in court, because that was what was going on in court. Is, you know, it's the kangaroo court. So anyhow, thanks y'all, appreciate it. Stick around. We're gonna have some more updates on the documents that I filed, and the prosecution and judge wouldn't talk about, because I straight up caught him in collusion. And then you saw how I fired my attorney for cause, but it went down on the record with all the submitted documentation. But it went down on the record as irreconcilable differences, whatever word they use, it's bullshit. You know, just like their wigs and their man dresses and stuff. So anyway, stick around. Thank you guys so much for being around. Thank you, Carrie, for being here and helping out. Yeah, you're awesome, buddy. So peace, y'all. Thank you. Boom.